Welcome to Reckless Moves. This is Michael Cremean, I'm the Dungeon Master, and we are ramping up, getting ready to start Season 2 of our campaign on October 9th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And in the lead up to Season 2, I have had the pleasure of interviewing all of the players. You can find that out on our YouTube channel and our website and our podcast, all the streaming places. The streaming today is also going out to Twitch because Twitch won't let you stream unless you've had a lot of streaming. We can't upload videos or anything like that. So, again, Michael Cremean, I am the Dungeon Master for Reckless Moves Season 2, and the players have turned the tables on me this time because they have asked me a bunch of questions. Since I asked them a bunch of questions to get to know them, get to know all the six of them. On the side of the screen here, you'll see our website, which is recklessmoves.com. You can go to the Players tab and get to know all of the players for this new campaign, plus see their character sheets, which are at D&D Beyond. It's fantastic. It's really fun. So let's dive into these questions. So, as a Dungeon Master, what is your process for preparing a session? That's asked by Roger. Process is pretty simple for me. I review the last session and I take notes and then I prep. I do a lot of preparation, and my estimate is I probably prep about 2 hours for every 1 hour of gameplay. And that's without the pre-production and all of the planning leading up to a season that's happening. And so Roger asked also, when working on a new campaign, do you start with an ending and work backwards? If not, what is your process? Well, I actually start with the idea for a start and an idea for an end. So what is the setting? What is the plot at the beginning? What do the characters want? How did they come together? And why did they meet each other in the first place? So I start with... Actually, what really informs that is the character's backstory. I always ask the characters to come up with a backstory for their characters. The more meat on that backstory, the more meat on the bone, we're going to feast on that later. And so then I work on organizations. What are the good and evil organizations of the world? And I'm a self-professed geek, so I will say that I make org charts, I make the relationships, who knows what, there's like, there's politics, power, and concepts that make up a kingdom. In Season 1, we adventured in the world of Greyhawk. In Season 2, it is a homebrew world called Alenoria. And I've distributed the map to the players. You will see it for the first time October 9th, because we're going to take the players through the prologue and share the map of Alenoria with the entire world. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so I don't actually map until all of the players' backstories, the starting point concept of the campaign, and the end point concept of the campaign. All throughout the middle, though, it is complete player agency. For example, in Season 1, I had a starting point and an ending point, what I wanted to do at the beginning, but the players' backstories and what they did for those 94 episodes was just fascinating. It did actually culminate in the final battle as they tried to unravel the secrets that were happening there, and it was incredible. It was a lot of fun. So then, after all of the plot hooks, the start point, the end point, the players' backstories, and then I map. So the map is actually the last thing I do. Of course, we could probably throw all of that away because players will throw you a curveball. Roger also asked, how do you remember the voices of your NPCs? Well, I'll really only try a specific voice for NPCs that are going to be pivotal in at least for several episodes. There's a little old lady who she really liked to mess with people. And
There's got to be a voice that you can do for a very short period of time, because if you do it for too much longer, you're going to not have a voice
to talk to the players. So only for certain NPCs that are going to be pivotal in the campaign will I give them a specific voice or tone. And how I remember it is I actually have a Google sheet. I published it for season 1. There were something like 60 NPCs over 94 episodes. Some of them were revisited over and over and over. So, you do give them a little bit of more sauce. But I keep track of them on a Google sheet. So this is Melinda asked the same question about a homebrew world. I kind of covered that, which is, how I start with that. But great question. What's been one of your favorite unexpected and brilliant plans you've had a player character to come up with? That truly impressed you. That's a great question. Some of the most memorable events in season 1, and actually I've been playing D&D for a very long time. And a little very short backstory. I've been playing D&D since 1979, and it was really I played it a little, but it was with 2 friends in the town I lived in then, Darren and Julian, who we really it was an amazing experience, and I just remember the stories and the adventure. It was a very different game back then. And I played throughout the years, but 5e became where and also with Stranger Things and Critical Role and other podcasts, the world caught on to D&D, which a lot of us have been playing for a long time. It was not cool when it first came out. Well, it was cool, but it wasn't necessarily. There was a lot of controversy. You can watch some great YouTube videos about that. But anyway, the favorite things that have happened, a couple come to mind. The actual name of Reckless Moves, the players were in a dungeon. It was very early on in the campaign, and one of the characters, there was a lot of talking about how they were going to go into this kobold cavern, and one of the players who played a barbarian, Kill, asked, "Hey, can I?" There was a lot of talking, like 20 minutes about planning and how to go infiltrate this kobold cave. And the name Reckless Moves came out because his player, Crispin, asked to borrow a shield from another player, and they didn't think much of it, and they borrowed it. And he just started clanging the shields together and said, "Come on, kobolds, come on." And he clanged the shields together. The players panicked. They all took positions, and it actually worked out amazing because the kobolds came to investigate, and it came like a kill box. And I made a comment, that's a very reckless move that worked out very well, and that was how the campaign was named. But, there was so many memorable points, but one of them was from a player named Mark Whale, Jacob. It was actually a couple players that came up with this idea, and they kept asking questions like, could I polymorph into large mammals? And they did all this calculation. So there was an enemy tower that I had made impenetrable. Like, it was going to be very difficult to get into this tower where a bunch of enemies they had to attach. So what they did was they cast Death Ward on everybody. They had someone fly them up enormous height, and they all turned into whales. And so they did the calculations. They showed me the physics of it. They showed me what this mass falling down, five falling whales that would fall directly on this tower. With all of that prep work and the math and the weight of the whale and falling and terminal velocity, I mean, they really did the homework on this. And when they presented this, I went with it. So it turns out five multiple ton whales falling on a tower does very bad things to that tower. I was so impressed. The whales falling on a tower. And with Death Ward, they all ended up with, they as the polymorph wore off, they ended up with not dying and having 1 hit point each. Amazing. Mandy asked, what has been your favorite campaign to run? To be honest, I'm so excited for Reckless Move Season 2 because it's a whole new world. It's really exciting. It's new players. Just a lot of the characters in Season 1 just didn't work out for various reasons. But we have an amazing cast for Season 2, and I'm so excited that. But thus far, it was a great podcast. 94 episodes are available at all the places that you can listen to podcasts. That was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. Again, it started just like I described before. Characters really got into their backstories. They gave me a lot of meat on the bones, if you will. And it paid off for some heartwarming, some super comical tears at the end. Amazing experience for 94 episodes of a podcast. So that has been the most fun. That was actually a combination of modules and homebrew. And I've done that many times, but so modules, but homebrew stories interweaving to lead to the next module. We skipped a couple, but we did Tales of the Yawning Portal, set in Greyhawk, and I was excited for that because I had played all of those modules when they came out, many of them, and be able to have those upgraded to 5e and take other players through those experiences was a whole lot of fun. That being said, I'm so excited for starting Season 2 next week on the 9th. It's amazing. Mandy also asked top tips for new DMs. There's no mystery to this for me. I've said it before, but read the Dungeon Master's Guide front to back. Make sure. And then I also read the player handbook, and there's so many monster guides now, but with all of the since the AD&D, the three books came out. But I think you read the Dungeon Master's Guide, understand. It also helps to be a player first, but that's not to understand the rules of the game, so you know when to break them, when to think. One of the most important things about being a DM is you also have agency. You can, if someone has a great idea as a player to do something very creative, I embrace that. And my phrase is, you can always try that. I'll let anyone try anything. It may not work out. It may work out. It depends on what it is and what are the most important things to remember about that time. So it's exciting to have people asking about being a DM. I have several over the years. Many players that I've DM'd for became great dungeon masters, and I actually got to play in some of those campaigns as a player, and that's really exciting when someone plays in a game that you DM, and then later on they become a dungeon master. That's super exciting. I do recommend starting with a module for your first time, whatever module you want. But the modules give you, as a DM, a lot of notes. And just like I suggest reading the Dungeon Master's Guide, read the module front to back before you DM it. It doesn't matter whether you're playing in person or a virtual tabletop. We use Foundry VTT for Reckless Moves, hosted on the Forge. But if you're going to be a dungeon master, read the guides first, and then I recommend starting with a module and make sure you really read the module to understand front to back what's happening. And then, but most important, just try it. Don't be afraid to be a dungeon master. It is a great experience. It's wonderful. The players will surprise you. So just do it. Just try it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very rewarding. And those of us that are mostly dungeon masters love playing in campaigns with other people. So that's gonna. There's a little clue there. Great question. What are your player pet peeves? Okay, I can think of 4 right off the bat. Not knowing your characters, your spells, not knowing your character. If you are going to make a character and take the time to write a backstory and such, make sure you really know that character. I have very little concern about this from the season 2 cast, because many of them are also dungeon masters. Dungeon masters sometimes make the best players. Not that the only thing you have to be aware of is not to metagame, but so that's number 1, is not knowing your character. Number 2, not knowing what you're doing when it comes to your turn in combat. I can tell you how many times over the years, hey, what are you doing? I'll make it up. Bob. I think I'll hold on. And they look at their spell list and then they decide what to do. Combat is fast. And I don't think it would surprise anyone that I prefer. So another question that Matt asked actually as a DM, and I've asked all these players, what is your preferred balance of RP to combat? I actually prefer at least 75-80% role playing, and combat. We have ways to make that faster and more fun, but about maybe 75-25 or 80-20. It's hard to put a number on it, but mostly role playing is my preference. But so that being said, not knowing what we're doing when it comes to return to combat, it drives me mental. Being late, everyone, whether you're in person or especially if you're online and you're doing recording or streaming or you're doing a podcast. I play in other games where they're also recorded just so the Dungeon Master can, for various reasons. But being late is just disrespectful to everyone else. And this is a weird one, but with 6 players, and I'm not concerned about this, but there are players that are more likely to speak up and kind of like hog the spotlight. I think it's a shared experience, and let's make sure everyone has the spotlight on them. You can't have a spotlight all the time. Sometimes one session will be more focused on a couple players. They're trying to solve a problem. They're the ones talking to the innkeeper, whatever the reason. But over time, you want it to be balanced with everyone having a chance to participate. That's it. So those 4 things. That being said, we're here to have fun. And I believe my job as a dungeon master is to facilitate the players having a great time. And if the players are having a great time, then hopefully people are listening and having a great time. I do a lot of listening as a dungeon master. I really listen to what the players are saying, how they're trying to decide. And I don't believe in railroading. Is a term, if you're not familiar, meaning like, oh, you can try that, but this guy, this you have to go over here. I don't do that. I have no idea what the players are going to do any session, and that is super exciting. So remember I said 2 hours of prep for every 1 hour of game time? That's all well and good. I've thrown out so many plans, so many encounters because the characters found a very unique way to a very unique way in order to solve a problem where, ship combat with a ranger who can shoot at 600 feet. Wow. Stuff like that is really fun. So Matt also asks, how do you handle if a session goes off the rails? Embrace it. I love it. Now, completely off the rails, meaning like there's, I don't know if there is such a thing as off the rails. There's, if the players want to spend an entire session debating what to do next, I might suggest possibilities if they're talking to an NPC. But a lot of times they'll just listen and it's their game. So I don't know. I just embrace it if it goes off the rails. Those can be some of the most fun experiences. Someone asked, I did talk a little about my D&D past. Let's talk about the house rules that we have all embraced, and those also can be found on the website. But since we're talking at it, the house rules are designed to make gameplay just when, especially combat things, make it flow faster. To like one of the things that combat can last a very long time or very short time, depending on how you approach combat and the house rules. Role playing will take care of itself because the characters are going to do what they want to do. But this more has to do with combat. So to make things simpler, healing potions to take yourself as a bonus action, and they're always maxed. So it's just easier to calculate. A healing potion heals for 2d4 plus 2. If you spent gold on this thing, why even roll? It's just 10. It just makes it a lot simpler. So healing potions are maxed. Using healing potions, like I said, bonus action for yourself and action to give one to somebody else. And critical hits, we just max dice. It's already built into our calculations in Foundry, but all dice are maxed. So the reason I do that is explained in the rules, but you roll a natural 20, and then if you have to roll dice and you roll like 1, 1, 1, 4, 1, and do like 6 damage from a crit, that's super bummer. It's a lot more fun when you roll a crit and you see this huge number. That being said, I know that there's some talk about monsters can't crit. I will trust me that monsters can crit too, at least in my campaign. We use the option rule of flanking. Flanking, the way we do it is if you are directly across from another player, or the monster is surrounded. So if someone can draw a straight line between them and another person, they're flanked. Meaning you have advantage on those attacks. If the monster's surrounded in a corner, if 4 guys are wailing on the last guy, he's going to have disadvantage, and they're going to have advantage just from logic and sheer numbers. Inspiration, which we give out for players being awesome and doing awesome things. Those inspiration is like fighting a tough enemy. You can use inspiration to do the way we play for any role, as long as you user inspiration before the result is given. So if you're doing a saving throw, if you're doing a attack, a check, that's super important. You can use those. Death saves. Death saves are done by me. And here's why. If you're in combat and someone falls, you don't know how badly they were hurt and how if they're clinging to life and they're hanging on by a thread. You don't know how in the concept of death saves where they're at. It really raises the stakes, and also players wouldn't know how badly they're hurt unless they go help them. So it makes it, really fun. And then it's listed on the site, but we do a very creative thing for modified resurrections. I won't get into it in this particular recording or stream if you're watching the stream, but it's on the website. So again, you can go to recklessmoves.com. You can actually, if you feel like, go listen to some of the old podcasts. You can also see on YouTube and Facebook the recordings. So just search. We're at Reckless Moves and all those. Search for Reckless Moves on here, and we're Reckless Moves on Twitch. If you're not watching on Twitch, we want to. I'm so excited for October 9th. It's a week away. It's really exciting to all of the prep work and getting to know these new players. They have written great characters, great backstories. It's going to be a lot of fun. And please check out those player interviews, because that's why I'm doing this as a turnaround, because they asked me a bunch of questions that they sent me directly. And again, I'm Michael Cremean. I'm the Dungeon Master. I am super excited for next week. Again, October 9th, 6 p.m. Pacific time. We are going to kick off Session 1, Season 2, Episode 1, October 9th, 6 p.m. Have a great week. We'll see you on October 9th.